Yo, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for taking the time out to visit my channel. If you don't know, we are finally starting the Disney Princess Marathon. This is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. If you can't tell, I am a huge Disney fan, so I wanted to take some time to review and take a look back at some of the classic princess movies and even some of the newer material as well. I'm going to have all these videos in a dedicated playlist, so if you guys just want to binge watch them all, they're going to be in a nice dedicated spot for you guys. But in this video, we're starting off with nobody else but Snow White, the one who started it all. So without further ado, let's jump into it.
Come on, step it up! Come on! Climax!
There is no way I can start this Disney Princess Marathon without going back to Snow White. She is the one who started it all. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was simply groundbreaking and set the foundation for all princesses to come after. Based on the 1812 German tale, this movie is such an important part of film history, we have to address that. Snow White is considered the first full feature film for Disney and also the first fully hand-drawn animated feature in history. This was definitely a risk because the film had a budget of $250,000, which is nothing now, but back in the 30s, that is equivalent to $4 million today. There was definitely tons of pushback, but this movie crushed it. It made Disney a household name for generations to come. There is no denying the significance of this movie. Fast forward to today, Snow White is still highly relevant, appearing in all kinds of merchandising, Disney park appearances, cameos in modern movies, video games, and much more. Snow White is an iconic piece of media, and there's no denying that this franchise is still one of Disney's top IPs. But I wanted to take a look at this movie today. Is it something I can recommend to newcomers of Disney films? I mean, this movie was a product of the 30s, but is it still enjoyable? Well, let's talk about it. So the movie starts off with this queen who is super vain. I mean, all she cares about is looks, and apparently she's insecure because she needs constant reassurance from this mirror. One day, she asks the mirror who is the most beautiful in all the land, and the mirror tells her that it's this princess, her stepdaughter, and not her. So what does the queen do? Well, we're gonna put a hit out on this maid and put her heart in a box. Talk about jealousy. Anyway, the princess that the mirror was referring to was Snow White. This is where our movie picks up. One day, the queen sends one of her soldiers to kill Snow White, but the soldier has a change of heart and decides to tell Snow White what the queen's intentions are. Snow White runs out of fear and anxiety and comes across this house deep in the forest. Snow White and her animal pals decide to pretty much just break into the house, just to cook and clean. Okay, in hopes that the owner will let her stay. We're then introduced to the seven dwarfs, who all have distinct personality traits. They all work as miners, looking for shines, diamonds, and such. Once they come back to their home from a long day of work, they realize that someone broke into their home and it is clean spotless. There's also food on the stove. But still, who in the hell is in the house? Can you imagine if somebody broke into your house just to clean it and cook you dinner after work? I mean, I would appreciate it, but you can't stay. We find out from one of the dwarves that the queen is full of black magic. Snow White asks the dwarves can she stay with them and essentially become their maid. We'll talk about that later. Back to the queen's castle. The magic mirror tells the queen that Snow White is still alive and well. The guard that she sent to kill her put a pig's heart in the box to trick her, but the mirror knows it all. The queen decides that she will go confront Snow White herself, but first she has to hide her identity by transforming herself into this old woman. Next, she creates this poison apple and hopes to kill Snow White. That is pretty much the story summary. I won't spoil the ending for those who have never watched this film. The whole message here is that people will go to extreme lengths to hurt you just out of pure jealousy, so be careful out there. Starting with the positives, this movie is absolutely gorgeous. For those who watch my Cuphead review, you know that I am a sucker for hand-drawn animation, something we don't see a lot of today. I understand that it takes forever to do, but I would love to see Disney return to the style one day. Thanks to the countless remasters, the colors really pop on modern screens and it just looks simply amazing. The character designs are great as well. I really love how the evil queen looks. She is the standout design for me. The makeup, the wardrobe, all of that. Her iconic look has inspired multiple makeup looks and she is the original Disney villain, so you have to show her some love for that. The music in this film holds up extremely well. Iconic songs like Whistle While You Work and Hi Ho are some of my favorites. Snow White has a beautiful voice, and the scene where she's harmonizing with the birds was just simply great. The soundtrack is that classic Disney music. Tons of singing, and I love it. So one thing to keep in mind with this film, that it was made in the 30s, so some of the ideology may not fit today's climate. Trust me, if Snow White came out today in this climate, people would be boycotting Disney left and right. The idea that they assigned Snow White with the task of serving the dwarfs and all she was good for was cooking and cleaning can definitely come across as stereotypical, but again, you have to remember the time period which this movie was made. Overall, Snow White is a Disney classic. There's no denying its significance in the world of film, and for Disney as a company, Snow White laid the foundation for many others to follow. For a movie that came out in the 30s, this movie holds up incredibly well. If you're new to the Disney Princess series, start here. This will give you an idea where Disney started. Thank you all for watching.